Hi YouTube. I thought I'd stop by tonight and talk a little bit about Gnosticism, and I've gotten some really good questions, and I'm hoping that I can keep on throwing out the clarifications here until we all kind of get on the same page a little bit. Gnosticism, when we talk about, somebody had mentioned Egyptian astrology and Babylonian, or, well, I don't know, when I hear astrology I think Babylonians, but they specifically had mentioned Egyptian astrology, and what a lot of these theological concepts are considerably older than Platonism. They're considerably older, and Platonism simply grabs onto them. It rearranges them and it transmits them. So when we get into how it was that Gnosticism came about, and what is it they start with? Well, they start with an awful lot of information, and a lot of it is just blasted foreign. It's not Greek, you know. But when Platonism really gets transmitted is after the conquest of Alexander the Great. When Alexander the Great runs through the Persian Empire and conquers Egypt, and then his empire splits into three and all that sort of thing. So we're talking, you know, 300s. You know, what is it, 313 or 330? I keep forgetting the dates there. But it's, you know, by 300, Platonism is probably all over the empire of Alexander the Great. By the middle of the 3rd century, you're talking about the construction of the Library at Alexandria. You know, Platonism is probably already there. You know, and all of these ideas, all this foreign knowledge, and all the Greek knowledge is thrown into libraries. And people talk about it. And Alexandria becomes a hub of philosophical thought. And you know, I've been trying to trace it back into Judaism, and I've begun to pick up some things that probably do date to 100, 150 BCE that are probably Platonic. They're probably theory of forms. That doesn't exclude everything else. Gnosticism is an open system. It's an absolutely open system. It brings in other ideas. So other ancient ideas, you know, when somebody had mentioned the idea of Orion's belt and the pyramids. Well, that's obviously way before Plato, but I'm sure that they knew everything about that. You know, I'm sure that the Gnostics knew about that. You know, and they probably threw it around amongst themselves. So there's that, before 300, and what I would suggest, I guess, for anyone that's looking at other religions and, you know, and kind of comparative religions, is to look for serious changes after 300. If there are serious changes in the theology after 300, then you need to look at Gnosticism. You need to look and see what Gnosticism is doing, because these guys are changing everything. If it comes before 300, then you've got a little bit different modes of transmission before 300. But after 300, the mode of transmission is Gnosticism, 300 BCE. Because Gnosticism is everywhere, and Gnosticism is attaching itself to everything. So that's what I would suggest to comparative religion people. I don't know, you know, before 300, I don't know that I could provide mode of transmission. But after 300, I can provide mode of transmission through Gnosticism. And then also, you know, and one thing that I was looking up, it's been a few weeks now. I used to, I really like the reliefs for Mithraism. And, you know, I always go over there and kind of look at them, and just to see if I can pick up anything new. You know, essentially, it always looks kind of like it's probably a calendar to me, or and it could be astrological. It could be a story told in the stars. Like, I'm not sure what those 12 reliefs are, but it looks to me like it's some type of a calendar or zodiac. But anyhow, a few weeks ago, I'd gotten back onto, I think it was Wikipedia, and I just started reading a little bit on there, and I saw where the archaeology on Mithraism says that it changed at a specific time, a very, very specific time, and that time fits my timeline. It fits my timeline. In other words, there's a definite line between Mithraism before this time and Mithraism after this time, and this time is critical to my models. It's critical. So there's an excellent chance that these same things affected both religions. And was Mithraism Gnostic? I think there's an excellent chance of that. Now, of course, I don't do Mithraism in general. If I had a strong point, it's Christianity. And I go back to Plato. So we're talking 380, 385 BCE, somewhere around there. But I know I would prefer not to go back any earlier than about 50 or 20. I'd prefer not to go back any earlier than Philo. But the thing is that Platonism, it shows up in Philo. It's in Philo. And going through the Philo philosophy of how the Genesis creation worked. Basically, he says that he takes the entire chapter 1 of Genesis and says that each of these are creations of forms. So when God said, "Let there be light," God's intellect produced the form of light, not light, but the idea of light. And essentially, he goes through all these forms and he builds a model of the universe, a model. And it's ideas. It's just ideas of the intellect of God. And then after all the models are built, all the forms are built, the ideas that are totally, they're not substance. These are not substance. They're just kind of almost images, But after all of that is built, then the real universe is built based on all of these models. And it's really kind of fascinating. It's complex. It's complex, and you kind of have to pay attention and read through what he's saying to find out, is he talking about a form or is he talking about the real one? Because at first it starts to be really confusing, but then once you go through it, it's a couple times, it's like, oh, okay, he's just telling me forms. And then after that, the universe is created, and he assumes that time begins when real stars appear. Because the stars determine time for Philo. So they determine the passage of time, or they mark the passage of time. So and then one other thing I wanted to mention about Philo. Man, I just did not get to talk about anything I wanted to in this video. One other thing I wanted to talk about with Philo is